Hey, we're talking today about Renee Nicole Good, who was shot at an ICE encounter in Minneapolis last Wednesday by Jonathan Gross, an ICE agent. Um, Tragic, to say the least. Let's lay it out a little bit. Her intent was to leave the scene. She got conflicting orders from ICE agents, one telling her to leave, one grabbing her door handle, and the other one telling her to stay. The ICE agent, Jonathan Good, possibly placed himself in front of the car to provoke a reaction from her. She tried her best to get out of there, and her intent was to leave and was to escape the situation. Background on her: she was 37 years old, a mom, married, has a 6-year-old son. For all reports that I've seen, she was a good parent, was in a good relationship with her wife. All good there. She was doing the right thing being down there by willing to protect and help her neighbors against ICE aggression in Minneapolis. With this, there's a lot of spin, there's a lot of propaganda going around. Sean Hannity, for example, on his show, had a guest on saying, hey, it's clear as day that she was aggressive against the ICE agent. And that's just not true. She was trying to turn away from him. And also, the ICE agent was gingerly, frankly. He was gingerly walking around her car, got her license plate number. So if she escaped, quote unquote, they could easily track her down later. There was nothing beats a Motorola, nothing beats a radio if somebody you want to apprehend gets away. There was no reason for him to shoot her. He was gingerly about it. He deliberately had his phone, switched hands, and then shot her. And she was nice to him. She said, hey, I have nothing against you. I'm not mad at you. She was flat out friendly with him. And, I can't prove this, but my opinion is that he didn't want to be embarrassed. He didn't want to be humiliated. He was mad, and he shot her in the face 3 times, and I've watched the videos multiple times, and I've also seen photos of inside the car with the blood all over the airbag, and my heart goes out to her, of course, her son, her family, and this is completely, stupidly unnecessary and unwarranted and cruel and wrong on every moral level. He definitely deserves to go to jail. And for my take, it was definitely a murder. Now, it needs to go through the court of law to have all the T's crossed, I's dotted to prove that. At the federal level, that's being blocked. I'm curious to know if the state of Minnesota will press charges. I have a hunch they will, but they're working to get all their ducks in a row. And the federal government's going to give them a lot of shit for it, but still believe they're going to do the right thing. Okay, so let's move on to ICE overall in Minneapolis. As a result of this shooting, it appears to be ICE has gotten a lot more aggressive. In fact, there were about 2,000 agents at the time when she was shot. Now there's about 3,000 and change. And the tactics seem to have gotten a lot more aggressive and cruel. Where ICE is going door to door throughout the city and making everybody's lives hell, and citizens, non-citizens, naturalized citizens, whatever legal status they have in the country is making their lives truly awful, including white people. Now, the bulk of the brunt is on brown people in Minnesota because, you heard about the Kavanaugh stop. Racial profiling has been carved out by the Supreme Court for ICE to do this. That still seems to be their main motivation is ethnic cleansing those. And I know that's a strong word, but that certainly seems to be the case, what ICE is doing. And you can trace this all the way back to Stephen Miller, and Trump, of course, signs on to that. Trump has a history of supporting racist stuff as well. So I've been thinking about this, and I've seen a lot of video coming out of Minneapolis, the good and the bad, and I'll get to what good and bad means in a moment. Bad means there's been extremely aggressive provocation by ICE against peaceful protesters, and of course those being kidnapped by ICE. And I don't know if you've heard, so I would like to think many of us have had loving parents or loving family or really good friends. I know everybody watching this video has a different background than my own. But if you've heard a loved one cry, or if you've heard a loved one be in pain, for whatever reason, whether it's emotional or physical, if you have any heart in your own soul, it's devastating to hear and you want to help that person as best as you are able. I've heard that in my life from people I care about. And if I bring up those memories today, I still get upset about it. And I've lost people close to me in my life. I know what loss feels like. I also know what it seems to see my loved ones be in pain, and it's terrible. And literally the sounds of the cries that person might make. And I'm hearing those same cries and screams and pain from people being attacked by ICE. This is just flat out wrong. Flat out wrong. Regardless of the law, regardless of any bullshit rule that's made up by the administration, regardless of anything like that. With this, think about what we represent as a country, what we represent in the United States, and what's going on now is not the America that I was raised to believe in. And we've had tragic things happen in our past. Obviously, slavery, the Trail of Tears by the Native Americans in the past, and the internment of the Japanese during World War II. And I see what's going on right now, tragically, as another one of those large times of trauma and pain. Okay. The good things. Well, good things in light of this. Minneapolis residents, Minneapolisans, are putting up a really strong resistance toward ICE, whether it's through joyful protest, which is actually super important. There is a brass band. I saw the name earlier. I don't remember. Really protesting at ICE gatherings where they have tubas and horns and clarinets, and that's a more joyful thing, but with a very serious purpose of like, hey, we're making light of this because what ICE is doing is bullshit. And it's a really positive way to go about that. Sort of like the frogs at the ICE facilities in Portland. It shows ICE to be absurd. And they are. They clearly are. And there's also a lot of other great resistance where there's huge parties breaking out around hotels where ICE agents might be staying, which is great. All those little acts of resistance really, really help a lot. And is it going to completely solve the ICE problem? We don't know, but keep doing it. For sure. Keep in mind, just stay at it and be relentless. Public polling already has ICE. Most Americans disapprove of what ICE is doing. They don't like the cruelty, of course. And the other large thing, switching gears to ICE staff or ICE officers, there's a lot of rumblings within the agency about ICE officers don't want to go to Minneapolis. They don't want to volunteer. They're like, no, this is wrong. We're not going. There's gratefully, because that also really needs to happen within ICE's internal resistance to this. You need resistance at every level, from internal, external, social, financial, everything. One thing I haven't seen quite yet are there's really large businesses based in Minneapolis, such as 3M, Medtronic, Best Buy, Target Corporation. Those are the four. General Mills, those are 5 that I can think of that are based there. They need to step up. They need to speak out. They have money. They have lobbying money. That shit counts. And they need to raise a huge stink, because ultimately this is bad for Minneapolis. And if you're thinking about it in a completely heartless way, this is bad for business. It's bad for them just from a purely financial level. And I know that sounds cold, but you got to think about, the green as well, the dollars. So Minneapolis businesses also really need to step up. Resistance needs to come at every single level from every direction, whether it's financial, internal, external, lawsuits, you name it, it needs to happen. And all of this goes back to Renee Good, of course. Her life should mean something more, and it didn't have to end the way it did. She was a devoted mother. She seemed to be a wonderful woman. And one thing I've noticed too on right-wing talking circles is to other her. It's like, oh, she's just a lesbian. Yeah, she has just as much worth as anybody else, as a straight person, or as a straight man, or a straight woman, or a gay black woman. We all have equal worth in that regard, and that shouldn't be dismissed. I know it's very popular, especially on the right, to other people, because then that behavior becomes excusable. It's a really common tactic. I've been seeing it my whole life. It's super common. Nevertheless, resistance needs to happen from every level, and keep it going. Keep the resistance going. And, there may be some wins, there may be some losses, but keep it going. And keep in mind, ICE has about 7,000 total staff right now, like nationwide. We're a nation of 350 million, right? Well, there's about 3,000 in Minneapolis right now. I forget the size of Minneapolis, but it's a big city. And they can't do it everywhere. They've been kicked out of Charlotte. They've been basically chased out of other cities, more or less, been chased out of cities. And we need to continue doing that where they are chased out of the city. Now, remnants of ICE remains. There's even ICE agents in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to you red staters thinking, oh, I'm in a red city, red state. Nope, they're in Tulsa as well, giving their residents grief as well and making their life awful. So keep the resistance everywhere. Introduce friction. Put sand in the gears. Keep it going. All right, everybody. Keep up the good fight. Talk to you later.